Assalamualaikum, students and physics enthusiasts. Here's another problem, focusing on the first law of thermodynamics involving the process of adiabatic cooling of an ideal gas. What do we mean by adiabatic cooling or adiabatic heating? Find out by sticking around till the end of this video. Watch and learn. And here is the problem. You have 1.25 moles of hydrogen gas, whose molar heat capacity, C sub B, equals 5 halves times big R, and molar heat capacity at constant pressure equal to 7 halves times big R at absolute temperature 325 Kelvin. You allow the gas to expand adiabatically to a temperature of 195 Kelvin. Question letter A. How much work does the gas do while expanding? Question letter B. What is the ratio of its final volume to its initial volume? Question letter C. What is the ratio of the final gas pressure to the initial gas pressure? We have here a schematic diagram in figure 1 showing how the gas uh, is able to do work, okay, on its surrounding. So it is contained in a cylindrical container, okay, with a movable piston. So initially we have here the volume of the gas, okay, at a given initial absolute temperature, as well as uh, with an initial gas pressure. And since you allow the hydrogen gas to expand, okay, naturally, the gas exerts an upward force on the piston, thereby moving it vertically upward through a certain distance. Okay, so that means the expanding gas is able to do work on the piston. In this problem, we are given 1.25 moles of the hydrogen gas. Okay, at an initial absolute temperature, capital T sub 1 equal to 325 Kelvin. We are also given the what we call molar heat capacities of the hydrogen gas. Okay, its molar heat capacity at constant volume, okay, capital C sub V equals 5 halves times big R, okay, or 5 halves times the universal gas constant, big R, while its molar heat capacity at constant pressure is 7 halves times big R. You allow the gas to expand adiabatically to an absolute temperature, capital T sub 2 equal to 195 Kelvin. Our target variables in this problem includes, in part A, the amount of work done by the gas. So we denote that by capital W. And in part B, okay, we are required to find the ratio of the final volume of the gas to its initial volume, okay, V sub 2 over V sub 1. And in part C, okay, our target variable is the ratio uh, P sub 2 over P sub 1, okay, or the ratio of the final gas pressure to the initial gas pressure. Moving on to our solution, we are applying here um, the first law of thermodynamics, which states that the heat flow, capital Q, into the system is equal to the increase in the system's internal energy, delta U, plus uh, the work done, W, by the system. And in part A, okay, we are computing the work done by the system, capital W, okay? And since the process involved here is an adiabatic process where there is no heat flow involved, okay, big Q equals 0. No heat is taken in by the system, neither is there heat given off by the system. That is what we mean by an adiabatic process. And from the first law of thermodynamics, if big Q is 0, then when we transpose and isolate capital W, turns out that capital W will just be equal to negative delta U. Okay? And according to our chosen sign convention, a negative delta U means that the internal energy of the system is decreased. Right? In other words, the final internal energy is lower or less than the initial internal energy. Okay, that's why it is negative. All right. Now, um, let's emphasize what we mean by an adiabatic process involving heating and cooling. Okay, this simply means raising the temperature, that's heating, or lowering the temperature, that's cooling. Okay, due to work done on or by the system. There is no heat flow at all. Okay? So, I hope this is clear to everyone. When the system is heated or being heated adiabatically, okay, but no what we call heat flow involved, it simply means that there is work done on the system. Okay, that's what we mean by adiabatic heating. Okay, while adiabatic cooling, okay, means that it is the system that is doing the work. Okay, the work is done by the system. All right. So heating and cooling doesn't simply mean uh, transfer of heat into or out of the system. Okay, but it can also mean uh, a certain amount of work is done on the system or by the system. So continuing with our computation for capital W, we can express the change in the internal energy delta U, okay, in terms of a derived formula that relates the number of moles of the gas, small n, okay, with its what we call molar heat capacity at constant volume and the change in the absolute temperature. W is equal to negative small n times capital C sub B times uh, capital T sub 2 minus capital T sub 1. And getting rid of the minus sign here, okay, we can simply multiply the whole thing by negative 1 and come up, okay, with this working formula. Capital W is equal to small n, all right, times the molar heat capacity at constant volume, which earlier given as 5 halves times the universal gas constant, capital R, and then multiplied by capital T sub 1 minus capital T sub 2. Okay. So the result of multiplying this by negative 1 changes our what we call delta T. It now becomes capital T sub 1 minus capital T sub 2. Okay? From the original meaning of delta T, or change in temperature, T2 minus T1. So, when we plug in the quantities into this working formula, we get capital W equals 1.25 moles times 5 times the value of the gas constant, 8.314 joules per mole per Kelvin, and then divided by 2. Okay? And of course, the whole thing will be multiplied by the difference, 325 Kelvin minus 195 Kelvin. So when we do our math, we arrive at the value of capital W, or the work done by the system, equal to 3.38 times 10 to the third power joules in 3 significant figures. It's understood that capital W here has a positive sign, right? If only to emphasize that the work done is by the system, okay? As earlier explained using our diagram, all right? Since hydrogen gas in this cylinder with a movable piston is allowed to expand, okay? So it exerts force on the piston, pushing it upward, Okay, so there is force and there is displacement, both in the same direction. Okay, which tells us that the gas here is doing work on the piston. That's why the work done here has a positive sign. Work is done by the gas on its surrounding. Next, in part B, what is the ratio V sub 2 over V sub 1? So based on another derived formula, okay, for an adiabatic process, okay, relating the temperature ratio and volume ratio, that is capital T sub 1 over capital T sub 2, okay, equals the ratio of the final volume V2 to the initial volume V1 raised to the power gamma minus 1. Okay, so what is this uh, gamma? Okay, we're given the molar heat capacities, capital C sub V. Okay, molar heat capacity at constant volume of hydrogen gas, okay, equal to 5 Hubs times big R. And the molar heat capacity at constant pressure of the same gas equal to 7 Hubs times R. All right. The ratio, capital C sub P over capital C sub V, is the meaning of gamma, right? So gamma is the ratio of the molar heat capacity at constant pressure to the molar heat capacity at constant volume of a particular gas. Okay? Gamma, therefore, has no unit because the unit for both Cp and Cb are cancelled. And in this case, when we divide 7 over 2 times R by 5 over 2 times R, okay, the 2 times big R also cancels, leaving behind 7 over 5, or in decimal, gamma is equal to 1.40. So, in this derived formula, okay, relating the ratio of the temperature to the ratio of the volume, okay, since our goal is to isolate the ratio V2 over V1, okay, what we can do is multiply the whole equation by the reciprocal of our power. That means 1 over gamma minus 1. Okay? And the effect is the power for V2 over V1 also gets cancelled. And isolating V2 over V1, we get V2 over V1 equals the ratio capital T1 over capital T2 raised to the power 1 over gamma minus 1. Okay? And since both absolute temperatures T1 and T2 are given, we just substitute. Capital T1 is 325 Kelvin and capital T2 is 195 Kelvin. Right? And we also substitute for gamma here. 1 over 1.40 minus 1 is the same as 1 over 0.40, which in decimal is equivalent to 2.50. Right? So with the help of your cycle, okay, after getting the ratio of 325 Kelvin over 195 Kelvin, and then raise it to the power 2.50, we get 1.67. That is the ratio, okay, of the two temperatures. And then raise it to the power 2.50, presto, we get the ratio V2 over V1, okay, which is the question in part B. V2 over V1 equals 3.60, okay, also in three significant figures. Last but not the least, in part C, what is the ratio of the gas pressure P2 to the gas pressure P1? So, another derived equation that relates the pressure ratio with the volume ratio is given here. Okay, P2 over P1 is equal to the ratio V1 over V2 raised to the power gamma. Okay, and the ratio V2 over V1, okay, has already been obtained or determined earlier, equal to 3.60. And since we're now talking about uh, the ratio V1 over V2, all right, so we just get the reciprocal, 1 over 3.60, and then raise it to gamma, which is equal to 1.40. All right? So with the help of your cycle, 1 over 3.60 is the same as 0.278. And raising it to the power 1.40, we obtain the ratio of the gas pressure P2 to P1 equal to 0.167, also in three significant figures, which is our answer to question letter C. So that's it. We are done. May I say, mabuhay tayong lahat. Kita-kits sa susunod na kabanata. Masya Allah. Thank you very much for your indulgence. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Alhamdulillah.